Good morning. Welcome back to Twin Oaks Family Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. That's our egg production flock. The girls are out to greet me, so I'm sure that they need their feeder filled. There's usually a few eggs laid by this time in the morning. This is the first check of the day on November 3rd, 2023. It is Melissa here. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We're actually going to go into the meat bird production barn. So this is about day 17 of a flock of 100 Cornish rock cross meat chickens, and they are in production until about November 30th, 2023. Thanks for joining us. As I said, this really is the first check of the day. So we're going in, you're gonna see what I see. So I expect to find the birds all nestled in like under their heat lamps. Hopefully they're distributed under the heat lamps the way that we want. We also expect to find that they've cleaned up all the feed in their feeders. There should still be water, and the water should not have frozen overnight. We did get down to about 28 degrees overnight, but we've got 6 heat lamps in this 13-foot by 13-foot pen. So between the heat lamps for supplemental heat and the confined space and the bird's body heat and the heat that gets produced off of the floor, because where they've manured on it, that biological material actually helps us warm up the pen and warm up the chickens. And that's really the main reason that most poultry keepers, even with small flocks like our egg production flocks and us with these small flocks of meat production chickens, that's why a lot of poultry keepers favor the deep litter bedding method. That's a bedding method where you start with a good clean base, a good solid floor, good clean base of bedding material that's dry and absorbent and cushiony under the flock. You start with that, and then as the flock manures on top of that and it gets to its capacity of moisture absorption, instead of like going in and cleaning all that out, we just leave it and we put more fresh bedding on top of it. That's called deep litter bedding, and that is one of the main benefits of doing that. When you're going into cold weather, that floor is going to be producing heat to help keep your birds warm. You still want to keep it dry and as hygienic as possible on top, which is why we add fresh bedding material. But so here we go. Let's hope for the best. What we don't want to find is going to take it a few moments to adjust here to the lighting. I'm going to close the door behind me because it's cold outside still. Okay, so this isn't bad. This isn't bad. So the one thing we don't want to find is dead birds. And I know you don't have the same vantage point as I do in person. You don't have that same vantage point on film. There's my throwback to giving you a little reveal of my age and using terms like film. That's not a thing anymore, is it? But you don't have the same vantage point from the camera that I do in person. But as I'm even standing here looking at the whole pen, I'm basically going cluster by cluster and trying to look at each individual bird and trying to assess, am I going to find any that have died overnight when I get into here. So far from here, I don't think that we have any dead birds, so we should still be at 100. So just standing from here where I walk in, the feeders are empty. That's what we wanted. We wanted them to clean them up. We're going to fill them. That feeder's empty. I can tell from here that there is still water in the trays of the water dispensers. It did not freeze. I can also tell from here, though, they need filled right away. So this group over here of birds, I hope y'all can tell, right in the center of that cluster, there's a gap, an opening where no birds laid down, and that's good. We want that. Those birds are still clustered a lot more than ideal, but they're clustered because it was cold last night. So here, there's no gap in the center of that cluster, but they didn't smash each other, so they're using body heat and floor heat in addition to the overhead supplemental heat to stay warm. So I'm going to go ahead and step in the pen, and we'll just take a closer look. That'll start to disturb them, we'll start to see birds get up, which is good. We want the birds to get up. And actually, we don't come in and, oh, and that's good. That's really good. See that group? There's a nice big gap in the center of that. That's more like we would love for every group to look like. But when it's cold, when it's cold, you're going to get them clustering more. So where they are, I feel pretty confident they're warm enough. But remember, we know the birds want an ambient temperature of like 85 degrees. So when it's 28 degrees outside and we're relying on these kind of resources, like the overhead heat lamps and their body heat and the floor, just producing the natural heat from the biological material that's on it, then, you know, we're limited on how much we can warm them up and how much area we can warm up. So overall, they're doing good. But I was saying, we are not going to come in here and just immediately put feed down. What we want to see first is we want to see these birds get up, stretch their legs, use their muscles, move around a little bit. So I'll have to probably encourage that. I won't do all of this right now, but I'll probably actually just take this pitchfork and I might just like go to each group and just kind of wave it over. I'm not actually even touching the birds with it, just waving it over the birds to see if they'll just get up. You could do that with an empty feed sack. You know, even at this age, chicks that are just a little over 2 weeks old, they're still pretty reactive, so they'll get up. They are wanting to go to the feed, so we will want to get feed in right away. But, you know, we'll get them up. We'll make sure they all move, because they've probably, with it being, if it was warmer throughout the whole pen, they would have stayed on like a circadian rhythm overnight of like every 4 hours or so getting up and going to the feeder on their own and going to the waters on their own, which obviously they did eat and drink because everything was full late last night. But they probably went more extended lengths of time in these clusters under the heat lamps once it started really chilling outdoors. So we want to see them all get up. Here's one laying on its side. That's very normal. You know, they'll even do that when they're too hot because, see, there's no feathers here. So that unfeathered skin, if they're too hot, they'll try to expose it by laying on their side like that, so it's cool, and holding their wing back so that this is exposed. So here, this bird is exposing that skin to try to capture as much warmth there as it can. So it laying on its side like that is normal, but we'll want to see that it gets up. So we'll also I'll actually take these waters, the whole unit, outside, and I'll just dump, I hold the lid on with 2 hands, and then I just dump what's in the tray. This one's still fairly full. So they drank a lot out of that one, because you can't tell, but I can see from out here, it's all the way down like at a bottom. So anyway, so we'll get them all up. So good news, they ate all their food overnight. All the birds made it through the night, 100 birds. So we'll get them up, try to encourage them to go toward the water, stretch their muscles, stretch their legs, and we will put feed in. So I really can't do that by myself, running the camera too. So I'll actually end up wrapping up the video and then putting their feet in, but I can show you. And some of y'all have followed our videos and you've seen it previously, but I'll show you. I think we still, nope, we get a bag in this one. So we have feed stored in these. So we've got our complete feed crumble with still a 22% protein value. And we'll just get that, we'll fill up the feeders and get them going on the day.